Los Angeles has always been a city built on tension, the kind that sits under your skin even when everything looks calm on the surface. And in February 1942, that tension wasn't subtle anymore. It was raw, loud, and everywhere because the memory of Pearl Harbor was still fresh, and the entire West Coast believed it could be the next target. Blackout drills turned the city dark almost weekly. Air raid wardens patrolled the sidewalks. Families taped their windows, covered their headlights, and kept emergency bags by the door. LA didn't feel like a dream factory then. It felt like a city bracing for something it couldn't predict. On the evening of February 24th, rumors started spreading through the military that something might be approaching the coast. Maybe aircraft, maybe submarines, maybe nothing at all. Radar picked up an unidentified blip about 100 miles out, and while it disappeared shortly after, the tension didn't. By the time midnight approached and the city crossed into the early minutes of February 25th, 1942, Los Angeles was a powder keg waiting for a spark. And then the spark came. Just after 2 a.m., sirens began screaming across the basin, the kind that made every Angelino's stomach drop. This wasn't a drill, the city was told. This was an actual air raid alarm. Searchlights snapped on across Santa Monica, Inglewood, Long Beach, Hollywood, and the San Pedro coastal defenses, stabbing upward in long white pillars that crossed and tangled like a net thrown into the sky. And somewhere inside that blinding mess of light, gunners reported seeing something, a shape, a movement, an object, but no one could agree on what it was. Within minutes, the anti-aircraft batteries opened fire. At first, a few bursts echoed across the coastline, then dozens more. Then it seemed like every gun in Southern California was blasting into the night sky. Artillery crews fired about 1,400 rounds before the chaos stopped, each explosion lighting up the clouds and sending shrapnel raining down on homes, roofs, yards, and empty streets. The sky over Los Angeles, usually soft and quiet at that hour, looked like a battlefield, painted orange by muzzle flashes and drifting smoke. People woke up in terror. Windows rattled, children cried, dogs barked, and families hid under kitchen tables or huddled in dark hallways. Cars jammed the roads as panicked residents tried to flee inland, away from the imagined threat. Some residents swore they saw aircraft gliding through the searchlights. Others were convinced there was just one large object hovering too slowly to be a plane. Others saw nothing but smoke and confusion. The only thing everyone agreed on was the feeling, a sense that something was up there, something the city wasn't prepared for. The barrage lasted for hours, turning Los Angeles into a war zone without a visible enemy. By the time the all clear finally sounded around sunrise, the city was coated in debris from its own guns. Streets were littered with twisted metal fragments, cars sat dented and cracked, and neighbors gathered outside, staring at each other in disbelief, asking the same question again and again. What did we just fight? Because here's the strangest part. After all that noise, all that firepower, all that panic, no confirmed enemy aircraft were ever found. No bombs, no bodies, no wreckage, no signs of a downed plane anywhere across the vast sprawl of Los Angeles. The military had essentially blasted the night sky apart, shooting at something that left no trace. The government rushed to respond, but the explanations didn't match each other. In the early hours after the event, some military officials hinted that unidentified aircraft had been detected and that LA had defended itself successfully. But as the hours passed, the story changed. The Western Defense Command suggested later that the incident might have started with a weather balloon spotted near Culver City, triggering nervous gunners into opening fire. The Navy, on the other hand, dismissed the idea of any enemy presence entirely and called the whole thing a case of war nerves, compounded by smoke, stress, and misread radar signals. Historians would later point out that the radar systems of the time weren't precise, and the city was already on edge from a confirmed Japanese submarine attack on an oil field near Santa Barbara just days before. So when a blip appeared on the screen and a few spotters claimed they saw shapes in the sky, the fear that gripped the city may have been enough to turn uncertainty into chaos. But here's why the Battle of Los Angeles refuses to die as a mystery. The official accounts contradicted each other so thoroughly that no single explanation ever settled the debate. If it was a balloon, why did the firing last as long as it did? If it was nerves, why were seasoned artillery crews convinced they were tracking multiple objects? If there were real aircraft, why didn't a single one fall? And if nothing was there at all, then how did an entire city, millions of people, become convinced the attack was real? The tragedy of that night wasn't caused by an enemy, it was caused by panic. According to most accounts, 5 civilians died, 3 from car accidents during the blackout, and 2 from heart attacks triggered by the fear and confusion. Others were injured by falling shrapnel raining down on neighborhoods that had no idea their biggest threat wasn't bombs from above, but fragments from their own defenses. In the years that followed, people kept searching for answers. Were there Japanese reconnaissance craft testing the coastline? Was it a misidentified weather device drifting where it shouldn't have been? Was it an early mass UFO sighting long before the word UFO even existed? The truth is, nobody ever proved a single explanation conclusively. Declassified reports added information but didn't solve the puzzle. The iconic newspaper photo with searchlights converging on a bright object became one of the most analyzed images in wartime history, enhanced, debated, reinterpreted, but never fully explained. And that's what gives the Battle of Los Angeles its staying power. It sits in that rare space where history, fear, and uncertainty overlap so tightly that the truth becomes almost impossible to pin down. The military called it a false alarm. Civilians swore something was up there. Officials contradicted each other. And the city lived through a night that felt like an invasion, even though no enemy ever arrived. Los Angeles shot at the sky for hours. The sky didn't shoot back. And when it was over, nothing remained but smoke, shrapnel, broken windows, and questions nobody could answer. In a city famous for illusions, the Battle of Los Angeles might be the strangest one of all. A moment where millions of people saw something. The military fired at something. And yet history still can't tell us exactly what it was. And maybe that's why the story still feels alive today, because LA knows how to build myths. But this myth built itself, in the dark, in the smoke, and in the minds of a city that thought the world was ending. The night Los Angeles fought an enemy that may not have existed still hangs over the city like a shadow, proof that sometimes the scariest thing isn't what's out there in the sky. It's what happens when fear fills in the blanks.